Dlatego! Hello and welcome to another episode of Ferret 64 with me, your host, Yemmy the Ferret. This is the one-stop shop for all video game news, occurrences, first impressions, and many, many more things. We got some interesting news this week, which we'll get to in a little bit. We also got some video games to talk about that I've been playing this past week. We got actually a lot of coming soon in my list here. So let's just go ahead, get right into it, get started, and let's go ahead and go over the video game news, occurrences, and whatever of the past week, starting with a final review for Phantom Abyss version 1.0. For those of you who do not know, Phantom Abyss came out several years ago in early access from Devolver Digital, and it essentially is was a roguelite game where you try and get through an Aztec-looking temple filled with traps and phantoms trying to chase you down and catch you. And you would essentially go through the randomly generated dungeons until you finally died or you got to the center, which took about, about 10 or so levels that you had to get through. And each attempt would net you a new whip with special abilities attached to them. Ones that make you jump higher or slide faster or just run faster in general, stuff like that. Very akin to what you would see in like the opening to Raiders of the Lost Ark, where Indiana Jones is running away from boulders and moving around spike traps. And obviously there's a lot more to it than that, even in the base game that was in early access. But that's the general gist of the early access version of the game. Now, finally, after a couple years, I believe this game originally came out in like 2020 or something like that, we have version 1.0, which is the official release that came out on like January 26th or something like that. And I've been playing it pretty regularly for the past couple days now. And I have not, full discretion, I have not completely finished the game, but I am on the final set of levels that they made for it, and I feel like I kind of understand the general vibe of what they are going for here. So instead of being dumped into a random assortment of courses, there are about 8 courses that per difficulty level, minus the one that's all the way at the top, for you to go through and obtain new whips and stuff like that. At the end of each course, there is a idol for you to get. Some of them are pretty fun, like the little crocodile or the panda. Other ones are kind of more basic, like the stone soldiers and a sword and a hammer, just... but they're pretty cool. I think they're modeled pretty well. The main difference between the early access version and the official release is that the courses are kind of pre-made for each whip that you are unlocking. So each time you go into a course, you do use the whip that you're going to unlock. One of the first ones you do nets you more coins from chests. So there's a lot more chests in the courses, that allow you to buy different blessings that give you more upgrades for, or maybe not upgrades, but just kind of more. It still has that roguelite flair where you lose your blessings by the end of the level, but you get like the other whips, you get their blessings of those whips, if that makes any sense. And so yeah, you go through the course, and if you get to the end, you get the whip, you get the idol, and then you also can talk to this lady who's trapped in there with you. She's like a purple phantom instead of being a blue phantom like everyone else in the game. The disappointing thing, though, is that the story is kind of shoehorned in on this one. The purple ghost phantom lady doesn't have voice acting associated with her, which is kind of disappointing. And she's in the game a lot. She shows up in levels and, of course, in the hub area where you're choosing what level to go into. The main plot of this game is to release this Aztec god or whatever who is chained down in the middle. and you essentially need to get the idols to break the chains that are holding them down. Once you get 3 idols in each set of levels, the chain will break, and you can move on to the next levels if you want to, or you can mess around in the levels that you have. You get coins, not just gold coins in each level to buy blessings, but you also get these upgrade tokens as well. Each one is color coded to the rarity, so you have a common, a rare, an ultra rare, and a legendary. And of course, that is used to upgrade your skills that cross over between levels. So those are permanent upgrades that you get, like extra health, extra dash speed, extra whip length, stuff like that. So the main gist of the game, I mean, even though the levels are curated for the whips, they still do have a randomness factor because not every time you go into a level, it's not going to have the same layout. Even if it can be similar at times, or even have the same pathways at times, it is a random assortment of levels that you are going through, and you use the whip to hoist yourself up. It can also disable spinning traps like blades and stuff like that. You have a dash move, which is not necessarily a dodge move, but it just allows you to dash forward really fast. There is a dodge mechanic, but it is a random percentage. Like, oh, you have a 10% chance of dodging every trap. That's one of the upgrades you can get. So the dodge isn't like a button you press. It's just a random chance that it might happen. It's one of those ones that I upgraded pretty quickly, but I still don't see the effects as much as I would like to with how many legendary coins I had to spend for it. And yeah, that's the main thing of the game, is just you're going through these levels, you're dodging traps, bombs, dart shooters, spinning blades, spinning pathways, fire, lava, falls, and then also there is the guardian of the temple who is chasing you, and there's 3 different guardians. One follows you around every so often, and if he gets close to you, he explodes, causing massive damage. Another one shoots poison balls at you that emit a poison cloud for some time. Another one shoots laser beams at you every so often, and they are a hindrance, especially later on in the more challenging stuff. They actually set them up to appear at certain points that are like stop gaps, essentially, or places where you need to be perfect, or else the guardian's going to catch up to you and they're going to do some stuff to you. Or maybe you're being greedy and you're trying to get a treasure chest that's kind of off the beaten path. Well, now they're going to spawn the guardian that spits poison at you in the narrow pathway that you need to go to get to the treasure chest. So they definitely put a lot of challenging things mixed in with the traps and stuff like that. A lot of crazy stuff happening. Inside of each level, you can get to a shrine, and sometimes that shrine will have something very helpful for you, like extra health, or it'll make the guardian spirit go away. But they are hidden in the maps usually, so you have to kind of go off the beaten path to find them for the most part. Right now, I am in the legendary trials, legendary levels. And they live up to the name. They're long, they're difficult. There's only 3 sections to them, but those sections take forever to get through, and they're very difficult. I have like 8 hearts. I've leveled up my health to have 8 hearts, and I'm pretty much down to my last heart by the time I get through to the last level, if I get there. Or the last part of the level, I should say, if I get there. And yeah, that is that's a bit of a skill issue. Don't get me wrong, but the levels are difficult. Like the layouts of the traps and stuff like that just really get super intricate and very tedious at times, trying to perfectly make your way through an area. And the legendary area has all new traps, all new layouts, all new visual design, which is a little bit of a learning curve getting into that, because the rest of the levels, they're all relatively the same. It's an Aztec looking, it's got the spike traps and the whatever, and then you get to this last batch of levels, and it's all like crazy colors, technicolors, and slime, and rotating platforms, and these new things you can grapple onto that give you an extra grapple point. And it's very, like I said, it's kind of a big learning curve, because the rest of the game is pretty straightforward in its design, and then you get to this last set of levels and it's like crazy. The levels get crazy with new stuff that you got to get used to. So I am still working through that, and but I don't think that the game has anything else to offer that's going to really sway my rating of the game. So that's why I want to, review it now and get it out of the way. Because I am still working on Prince of Persia as it is right now, and I should get a final review after that next week. I'm about 75% through that game. But Phantom Abyss, I figured I'm fairly close to the end. I just have to get through these legendary temples, which may take me a while because they are difficult. They're not a walk in the park. So I just wanted to kind of talk about the game in a final review form because I pretty much have seen everything that the game has to offer at this point. Would I recommend this game? Yes, I think it's a very good runner kind of game. It's challenging at times. It's got that very fun vibe to it. It's kind of like Meet Your Maker, if you remember that game from last year, where you kind of build these like trap houses. Except everything is a little bit more curated. Of course, it's not user generated, but it would be cool to see like a user generated map type thing be put into the game. I feel like that might be kind of cool eventually down the road, maybe in a later update or something like that, maybe as DLC. I would definitely like to see something like that because as it stands, the version 1.0 version doesn't have a lot to do. There is the daily trials which rotate out every day, so there's a new configuration every day, which is nice. But other than that, it actually has, I would say, it has about the same amount of content because you do unlock all the whips that you would originally get in the early access anyway. Um, but it just feels like less content because the levels aren't as long or as winding. And the daily one, it is more reminiscent of the early access version, but it still doesn't give me exactly what I want from the experience. I will say having the version 1.0 come out, having the actual release come out, has made me go back and play it, and I've actually had a really good time with it. There is some frustrating moments here and there. I feel like some of the areas are just way too meticulously designed to, you need to be like pin perfect with your accuracy, which can be very difficult at times, especially with how loose the controls are in this game. I'm playing with mouse and keyboard, and sometimes I feel like something I'm off by a hair, and it just completely ruins my run, so I have to restart or just allow myself to die. The whip can be a little bit inconsistent at times when you're grappling at locations. You press right click to aim it, and you press left click to fire it off. And sometimes I need to do that really quickly, and the game doesn't register that I've already hit the right click and then the left click. And I know that I'm doing it right. I know I'm doing it right, and my whip just will not latch on to anything. I'll just do the regular whip animation, which can be a bit frustrating, especially when you're doing so good. And there's some sections where you have like the guardian who's following you really closely, and you can't mess up. And what will happen sometimes is you'll fall into the abyss and get respawned back at the start of that section, and the guardian will be right there and immediately hurt you right after you spawn back in. Those sections that can get really frustrating at times too. And I don't know how they would fix that, whether they just kind of reset the guardian or I don't know. But it is a frustrating thing, especially when you're having such a good run, just to have it all ruined because you accidentally fell. You lose a quarter of a heart, and then the guardian is right there because he was following you, and you get hit because you can't escape him because you spawn directly into him. It can get a little bit frustrating here and there, and the later levels definitely you see some of the cracks showing for the controls because you need to do things a lot more quickly and with a lot more precision. And sometimes the game doesn't keep up with you almost in a way. Especially if you have the upgrade for running faster. You can actually buy that from a blessing thing inside the levels, and a lot of these levels aren't designed for that quick run. So they want you to be moving a little bit slower to kind of get the timing of the traps right. And when you're moving too fast, the game can't keep up with you, and it's one of those things. It's like, okay, all right, I understand, but why? you know. And a lot of the whip, like blessings, I guess, the whip, the special whip abilities are good. There's only a couple that I would say don't matter in the long run, but a lot of them are good, and they do actually help. And I like how they design each of these temples around the unique properties of each whip. I think that is very nice. I think they did a good job with that. So all in all, it's Phantom Abyss 1.0 version 1.0. It's still really fun, has some frustrating moments, maybe doesn't have as much as I was hoping for in terms of a full release. There's some things from the early access that I would like to see back, but all in all, I think I'm going to land on a 4 out of 5. Still very good, still very fun, and it's definitely a game that you should try out, or if you already have the early access version, maybe re-download it and try out the full release. So I think that it's definitely worth going back to and trying out, and I've been having a blast with it. So yeah, if you want to, check out Phantom Abyss version 1.0. I think it's pretty good. Thank you for listening to the final review. Okay, let's move on to what I've been playing this past week. Okay, so besides from Phantom Abyss, I've been playing Prince of Persia: Lost Crown still, and like I said, I'm about 75% of the way through the game. It has been good so far. I wouldn't say great. It's been good so far. There's some things that are kind of irking me about the game here or there, but for the most part, I think that it's still a good experience. It's definitely worth checking out if you like Metroidvanias or if you just like Prince of Persia in general. I think the combat is still really fun, and it definitely keeps evolving on top of itself every time you get one of those feathers for a new ability. And so does the platforming, too. I forgot to mention this last week, but the platforming also evolves with each of the upgrades you get. Some upgrades kind of negates, like, another thing in the game. So there's these, like, bells that you hit with your arrow that changes dimensions or whatever and allows you to platform off of different platforms. And eventually you get an ability that just switches it automatically by pressing a button. And it kind of removes the bells and the bow from the equation for those sections, right? Which obviously it's meant to make it a little bit easier so that when you're backtracking, you don't have to go through the trouble and the hassle of doing that stuff. But still, kind of interesting, I guess you would say. And the other thing that I'm running into more so now than before is just areas that kind of are empty. Metroidvanias are kind of known for their layouts, right? And just the nature of a Metroidvania is finding something to help you progress through an area and go through different places. And more often than not, I'm finding myself going to an area and searching around and maybe not struggling, but just figuring out a way to get to a certain place, and there's nothing is there. And I haven't gone to the area before. They didn't put any time crystals that you destroy there. It's just kind of empty. Or maybe there's like an enemy, and it's like, what? But why is this like a special place to get to? Like, there's one in the Pirate Cove area where you can see that there's an enemy walking around below you, below the deck, and you're like, oh, maybe I should go down there. There might be something special down there. You go down, you find your way down there, and it's just two enemies. There's nothing special down there. There's no collectible. It's just two enemies. And it's like, okay, maybe possibly I just haven't found a side mission that unlocks the things in those areas. I don't know. But I will say this, it is a bit disappointing to kind of get to an area that might be a little bit more difficult to get to, or maybe even easy to get to, and just have nothing be there. No collectible, no upgrade, no resources, no nothing. And it's just like weird. It's just kind of weird. I think that a lot of the game is pretty well designed map-wise, but there is those areas that you go to and you work your way to them, and you have nothing to show for it. It's just maybe it's a troll by the developers. I don't know. But there are some really interesting and fun things happening in the game. Right now, I just got the ability to change those dimensions, like I said. So there's getting into new areas and stuff like that. Getting some collectibles that I couldn't get to before is always fun to go back and do that stuff. Right now, I'm in the like sand dungeon or whatever, the sand prison. And it's this really cool area that has a really nice visual flair, visual style to it. Lots of sand whirling around, and actually towers of sand that allow you to go up or down, kind of like not like an elevator, because that seems more smooth. But you kind of jump up and glide down on them. And there's these like centipede type characters in this one section that is making it a little bit challenging because they knock you out of place and they automatically reset you, and it's getting a little bit more difficult here and there, and I think that the visual design of this sand prison is great. I really like that. I mean, most of the areas have a good visual design. Don't get me wrong, but the sand dungeon or whatever it's called, the sand prison, definitely one of the better looking areas in the game for sure. Um, and the loop around is really nice in some of these areas too. A lot of Metroidvanias don't have enough shortcuts, in my opinion. But Prince of Persia, along with Fist Forge and Shadow Torch, definitely give you the option, because you're gonna go back and you're gonna run around these areas and you're going to try and collect things if you want to, of course. Obviously you need to find like upgrade materials for your swords and your bow. You need to find Xerxes coins, or Darius's coins. I think it's Xerxes coins, right? Those coins you can use to upgrade stuff as well, buy different things, unique things from certain sellers as well. There's plenty of side missions to find and do. It's one of those things. It's like, yeah, the map is well designed and all that. It's just there's a few nitpicks I have here and there. And then I finally ran into a game-breaking glitch, and I was having a, it's a side mission, so at least it's not a main mission, so, at least I can still progress in the game. But you meet the Pirate King at one point, and you go through the whole dialogue tree with him, and once he's done talking, you just kind of freeze in place. You can't move. The game is still running. The characters are still kind of doing their idle animations, but you can't open the menu, you can't open the map, you can't even lay down a marker. It's so weird, and I waited for like 5 minutes for it to maybe eventually load, but no, nothing happened, which made me quit out of the game and restart, which I lost a lot of progress. So once again, I went into the game, I did everything that I didn't do, and I was stupid and didn't go save at the tree, the little tree checkpoints. And I went to go stay. I was like, oh, maybe it was a one-time thing. No, it happened again. So this time, I did everything again, saved, and then went to the Pirate King. Same thing happened. Check for updates, whatever. It just kept doing the same thing over and over again. So this is definitely a major glitch of the game. Luckily, though, like I said, it is a side mission, so I don't have to do it right now, and hopefully they put out an update for that. But it is a bit disappointing because that's a big one. Like, there's some games that have glitches in it, like Spider-Man 2, where it's like, okay, I can kind of get past this, where I can kind of reload the game and whatever, we're fine. This one is pretty consistent, if not 100% consistent. So definitely needs to be fixed sooner rather than later. But like I said, I'm still really enjoying the game. I think it's really flashy, really smooth. Getting used to the parry system is a bit hard, but you get there. There's some enemy types who are getting kind of annoying. Like, there's these ones that throw just bombs everywhere, and then when you get close to them, they try to grab you and explode. And I don't know, they're just kind of the most BS enemies in the game has to offer. But I am about 75% through the game, so I guess I should expect that to have some harder enemies, I guess. And honestly, that's really all I've been playing this past week. I know that Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth came out, and I do have my copy of the game, but I want to finish either Phantom Abyss or Prince of Persia before starting it. So I should be talking about it next week, because I will be playing more of it today and over the next week, the other games. So I definitely want to get around to that, but I didn't feel like rushing it because, one, I got it like last night, Saturday night, that day I'm recording this. So I wouldn't have had a lot of time to play it anyway. And I also want to finish Prince of Persia or Phantom Abyss before just starting into a game that's going to be like 70 hours long. So I will get to that eventually. And I also know Tekken 8 came out, and I was very excited for that, but I am trying to limit the number of games that I'm buying, especially early in the year right now. So there's some games I'm just going to miss out on, or just wait for a sale later in the year to pick up. Just as a spoiler, I guess, I've chosen not to get both Skull and Bones and Suicide Squad for right now. There is a beta for Skull and Bones coming out, so I'll probably play that and talk about it, but I'm not planning on getting the full release for either of those games right now. I'm definitely waiting for the sale to come, the big sale to come. Helldivers is really the only game that I'm getting day one that's like a multiplayer looter shooter kind of game. The other two games just really have been losing me, which I'll talk about later in a little bit. But yeah, right now on stream, we're just playing through the games we've been playing through. Captain Toad, Neo, and Power Wash Simulator. I got to get back to Neo this coming week. And Power Wash Simulator, we're getting close to the end. We just did the subway and the caravan, which are two pretty big levels. And we're moving on to the ancient statue. But I'm getting there. I'm getting pretty close to finishing that off. Very exciting. And Captain Toad, we're just going through the bonus missions. So technically I have beaten Captain Toad, but I'll talk about it after I get through those bonus missions, because the bonus missions are the ones that are based around Mario Odyssey, which sounds pretty fun to me. And Neo, we're still getting through that. So, all right, let's go ahead and move on to what's in the news. All right, Microsoft, Activision. The buyout has officially gone through. Microsoft now owns Activision and Blizzard. The CEO of Activision Blizzard finally left. And as we knew was going to happen, Microsoft let a bunch of cronies go that were under his that were hired by that CEO. But what we didn't see coming was that Microsoft was going to lay off 1,900 employees. This is across the board for development studios like Toys for Bob, Activision in general, like the Call of Duty branches of Activision, and also some select Bethesda employees have been laid off as well. This is, of course, after Xbox or Microsoft was appraised as a $3 trillion company. So apparently they being a $3 trillion company means that they need to, really crunch down on their spending, right? So yeah, this layoff is affecting internal teams at Microsoft Studios, Bethesda, and Activision Blizzard. Now, we knew that there was going to be some changes coming to Activision Blizzard, but this is a pretty major thing here. Phil Spencer said those affected will receive severance benefits informed by local employment laws, and as well as additional support. He also explained that the job cuts are a result of aligning on a strategy and an execution plan with a sustainable cost structure that will support the whole of our growing business. So obviously they have priorities inside of Activision Blizzard or inside of Microsoft Studios in general. So they're just restructuring, and of course that means taking out almost 2,000 people from the workforce. Yeah, it's a crazy thing, and like Toys for Bob, everyone was expecting Microsoft to be like, oh, you guys get back on a Crash Bandicoot game, please. The thing that you guys are kind of known for in a lot of ways. Because they were put on Warzone for quite some time for whatever reason. And instead of doing that, they like slashed their work, the studio in half. It's like, what? All these promises that Microsoft made, which go back in the podcast episodes. I was elated that they were going to try and bring back some of these dormant franchises like Tony Hawk and Guitar Hero and Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. But I also was kind of like, are they just saying this stuff to get on the good side of people? Like, are they really going to do that? I don't know. I guess we still got to wait and see. But at this point, this is a pretty beefy layoff. And what this does do is takes us over the 6,000 people being laid off this year. The 1,900 people put us over 6,000 layoffs in the video game industry. This is also coming from cuts in the People Can Fly development studio and Black Forest Games this past week as well. People Can Fly made Bulletstorm and Outriders, and we're working on a new game. The Black Forest Games worked on the Destroy All Humans remakes. So yeah, that means that we're pretty much at 6,000 video game developers who lost their job since the start of this year. We are only 28 days in, folks. We are only 28 days in. 28 days later. Good movie. Yeah, it's disappointing. It's strange, and now more than ever, the games industry should be unionizing. I don't like this is unprecedented. I would say we've seen layoffs and we've seen jobs cut before. And last year, I was talking about how most studios were kind of trimming the fat to these outsider companies who are their jobs are being laid off that are just doing like outside work for the company. And that was true. A lot of companies were doing that. But now it seems like we're not just trimming the fat. We are literally just cutting people for the sake of saving some extra dollars. And we go back a couple years to when Microsoft was buying up studios like Bethesda and and starting to get into the Activision deal, and the amount of hope that was there that they were going to, not save these studios, but put them on the right track again. And instead of doing that, they've axed a bunch of people's jobs and said, "Get out." And it's just disappointing. It's very disappointing, very unfortunate. So we'll keep looking into this as the year keeps going on. But yeah, this is a lot of. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard of this many people losing their jobs in 1 month, let alone the start of the year, ever. And maybe it's because I haven't been doing the news circuit for as long as other people, but it just seems unprecedented to me. All right, the Pokemon Company has officially released a statement about Palworld. Essentially, Palworld, if you don't know what it is, it's these cartoony Pokemon-like characters. You beat them up, you capture them in Pal balls. You give them guns, you put them to work. You battle with them, I guess. And the whole game is just based around this like survival crafting mechanic where your base can get raided by pals or by the opposing force in the world. And essentially, you try and build up a big army, pals, get the rare pals, and do your thing. Randy, I played about an hour of the game, and going into it, I kind of knew it's not going to be my thing. Like as popular as the game is right now, with 8 million sales and however many players, probably about 8 million players. Especially with the trial on Xbox Game Pass. That's what I played. I played the trial on Xbox Game Pass. A lot of people are going to be getting introduced to this game, and it's making the rounds right now, the circuit right now. And we kind of all knew that eventually Pokemon would say something, because it is very akin. The Pokemon, the designs of the pals are akin to Pokemon like. They got the big smiles and the goofy faces and the cuddly cute style to them. And I mean, being said, it's not like Pokemon has the most original designs for their characters either. Like, you have dolphins and real world animals. People even compared some of the Pokemon designs to early Dragon Quest enemy designs. So there's always an aura of inspiration that people take, whether it be from real world or other properties. Obviously, Palworld is really trying to get that niche of people who, well, maybe it's not even a niche at this point, but people who want to see more Pokemon games and they want them to go wacky and crazy. And the craziest that Pokemon has gotten right now is Legends Arceus, and this is kind of it. This game is kind of like Legends Arceus in a way, where it's that open world. You're throwing the ball willy nilly and battling willy nilly, right? Obviously, the comparisons are going to be there, but obviously, Palworld is a much different style game. Giving these Pokemon type characters guns and stuff like that. For me, like I said, it just wasn't really for me. I'm not a huge survival crafting kind of person. Obviously, if it's like mixed with something else in there to make it more interesting, maybe I can kind of get with it. But Palworld was about as low effort as I expected in a lot of ways. If you've played the game, you might know what I'm talking about, but like the animations of the characters, the character builder itself is very meh. The opening of the game is just so tedious, capture 5 of these pals, hit the rocks for about 30 minutes to get enough stone to build something, hit the trees with your fist, punch a couple pals in the face, and it just really wasn't grabbing me, and I got fairly far into it in my hour of playing. I built pal spears. I captured a rare pal. I started putting them to work. I went to sleep. I activated some fast travel points. I found the first boss, and I just said, you know what? It's just not for me. I'm not going to invest my time anymore into this game because it really just is not a game that I'm not invested in. Like, I'm already bored to tears in the first hour of the game. I'm sure it builds up to something more, of course, once you get all your stuff going. But for the most part, it just wasn't really speaking to me, and I'm not willing to buy the full version of the game after playing the game trial. So sue me. No, don't sue me, Nintendo. I just played the game, I swear. Anyway, going back to the main reason for this segment, Nintendo put out a statement about Palworld. They said, "We have received many inquiries regarding another company's game released in January 2024. We have not granted any permission for the use of Pokemon intellectual property or assets in that game. We intend to investigate and take appropriate measures to address any act that infringe on intellectual property rights related to Pokemon. We will continue to cherish and nurture each and every Pokemon and its world, and work to bring the world together through Pokemon in the future." Which is kind of just a blanket statement saying, hey, we acknowledge that Palworld is around, and we don't know if we actually have any legal ground to stand on for this one exactly, but they already took down a mod that actually put in Pokemon, like actual Pokemon skins. They took that down along with the YouTube videos surrounding it. Nintendo and specifically Pokemon are very notorious for just issuing cease and desists and stuff like that left and right to anything that includes Pokemon. I think that Palworld does have a bit of a pass because they're Pokemon-like, sure, but Pokemon doesn't own the rights to something looking like a Pokemon. They own the rights to a specific Pokemon, right? And I think that Palworld can get away with it because it is such a different game. It is a bit of a different... I mean, it's obviously a different vibe. And even though it has similar mechanics, you can say that it was inspired by Pokemon. Now, the legal system in Japan is a bit different, as I saw from a YouTube video that I was watching. I forget which one it was. I apologize. But essentially, in Japan, there is no fair use law. So if you are caught, using the design of like a Pokemon, that's 100% against the law. In America, and I guess the U.S. and like Europe, I guess there are laws in place for fair use, specifically in America because I live here and I've used fair use as a plea before, not like a plea in court, but just like on YouTube in general. But the fair use clause, it's a bit like you can kind of read between the lines and there's some like loopholes at times, but for the most part it's to protect people who are inspired by this and they make a game. So like someone, the people who made Pizza Time, which is very much like a Wario Land game, I mean, let's say they wanted to use a character who looked closer to Wario and they wanted to make the design more like Wario. Over here in America, if a Nintendo was based in America, in North America, it would be fair use, essentially, right? It looks like the character, it's not exactly the character, right? You could also say parody too, I guess. But in Japan, since Nintendo is based in Japan, let's say that it is, let's say Pizza Tower it was called like Wario Tower or something. They have every right to take it down because in Japan there is no fair use and there is, there's nothing protecting people from using like parodied or similar things, which is why Nintendo has gotten away with taking down plenty of things in the past, like Zelda mods, the Palworld Pokemon mod, fan-made games using the characters, stuff like that. They've gotten away with that because in Japan, it's an international thing. The laws in Japan are different from here in America, but if you're using something that a company in Japan is like pointing a finger at you for, the laws for Japan is going to override the laws for America. That's just kind of how it is. So, even though I think that Palworld is a unique and maybe a parody, obviously it's very much a parody of Pokemon at times. I think that if Pokemon had legs to stand on for taking this game down, they would have done it way earlier. They would have done it when they showed the game off at the Game Awards and the Xbox showcase that happened a couple years. They would have taken action way before that. I mean, Palworld has been in development for quite some time. They would have taken action way before that. And there's a big controversy going around. People, obviously it's a big Twitter thing where people are comparing the designs of the pals to the Pokemon. It's like, yeah, of course there's a similarity. The game is inspired by that. I would say, hating the game for parodying Pokemon, whatever, right? I don't think that should be a big thing to hate on. The one thing you should hate on, though, is the the designs that are created by AI in the game. It came out recently that there's a couple of, maybe not a couple, maybe a few PAL character designs that are essentially AI generated instead of made by hand by the people who made the game. So if you don't like AI, they didn't use it aggressively, I don't think, but it's still one of those things that's like, yeah, no, you're taking a few shortcuts here and there. Obviously, it's a smaller development studio, so I do kind of give them a bit of a pass. But if there's one thing, if you need to hate this game and there's one thing you need to hate it for, maybe go for the AI stuff over the Pokemon similarities, I don't know. I think that the designs of the pals are distinct enough that it's not going to be an issue. Obviously, there's a couple designs in there that are pretty similar, like the sheep or whatever that are in the game. But, I mean, then again, like, the sheep in Pokemon just look like sheep, and the sheep in Palworld just look like sheep. So it's going to be a legal gray area, I suppose, and we'll see what happens. But at this point, I feel like if Pokemon and Nintendo were going to do something, they would have done it by now, especially when the first trailer for the game came out. And seeing as they've really only released like 2 statements saying like, yeah, we're going to look into it, something tells me that they've already looked into it, and they realize, yeah, we don't really have 2 feet to stand on here. If we go to court with them, it's not gonna, it's probably gonna be ruled in their favor, even with the Japanese laws that we'll be going with. So there we go. Of course, it's a big wait and see moment. Wait and see moment. But yeah, we'll see. All right. The developer behind The Day Before, probably the worst reviewed game from last year, was taken down in about a month's time and has been largely forgotten about at this point. The Day Before developer, the studio, came out on Twitter claiming that there's been a lot of misinformation and the internet is responsible for the downfall of The Day Before, essentially. This tweet has since then been deleted, and it had like a whole statement. They were shitting on like bloggers like IGN and people like that who were writing about the game in a negative fashion. They also called out like YouTubers and stuff like that making videos about it in a negative sense, in a negative light. And they have since then deleted that tweet because it's obviously in bad taste, and also everyone and their mother know at this point that The Day Before was a big train wreck. You don't need to watch the Matt McMuscles video about The Day Before what happened. Okay, you going into this, you already like the game only was live for a month. It seemed like a cash grab. It was at one point it was one of the most wanted games on Steam to come out and have all the sales and then close like a month later. There's something fishy going on. There's something weird going on. And obviously the game just was not good. I mean, there's been plenty of YouTubers and Twitch streamers who played the game when it was available and at its peak, and it just was not a good game. And even like when IGN is dunking on your game, you know that you've made a bad game. So the developers claim that certain bloggers and YouTubers made vast sums of cash thanks to the negative reviews and followers gained by negative attention. At one point, the Twitter post that has been deleted says, "Remember the experiment where you're asked to count pink objects in a room and then recall the blue ones? You don't remember any. It's all out of focus. The negative bias instilled by certain bloggers making money on hate affected perception of the game." There was a lot of popular people who played this game. Dr. Disrespect, Moist Critical, Video Game Donkey. I mean, the list is endless. Angry Joe. They all unanimously agreed that the game was bad. Not just they played the game, you know? They played the game on stream, on video. Like, we saw the game. It didn't look good. The reviewers who got their hands on it and reviewed it, they reviewed the game in a negative light because the game was bad. And now that the development studio is bankrupt, they've shut down. You know, they're probably just trying to drum up some sympathy. But as we already know, they deleted this post because of the negative reception to it, and I'm guessing they knew they were just trying to get some pity, right? But they knew that this was a factually incorrect statement that they were making. So, yeah, fuck these guys. They don't deserve to be in the game development space, and yeah, there you go. All right, it's been rumored that Until Dawn is getting a PS5 and PC remastered version. I don't believe it has been officially announced yet by Sony, but there might be a state of play coming out soon that will have the remaster or remake in that. Until Dawn, I have my gripes and criticisms about the game, of course. I think it's generally good, but I gave that game a fairly negative review when I replayed it this past year, and I stand by everything I said. It's still like maybe it's not even good. Maybe it's just it's a fine game, right? It's just fine. It's average. I mean, sure, I would play a remaster on the PlayStation 5. You know, I don't think that I don't think that's I don't think that's especially if it's like a $5 upgrade or something like that, or maybe even a free update. Like, I would totally play it again, because in general it is still like a fun game. It's got that butterfly effect thing in there. It's got some some fun mechanics in there to mess around with, and yes, of course, it's fun to play out this horror slasher story. You actually control it and stuff like that. So, there's some fun stuff in there. My phone is going wild right now because everything is coming at the same time for some reason. So, yeah, there's some fun stuff in there, of course. But, a lot of people are kind of complaining, like, why is Until Dawn getting a remaster when Bloodborne's sitting here without a remaster? And, there's a few other PS4 games that don't have a remaster, like, there's like not even a PS5 version of the Ratchet and Clank game, the reboot game that came out, and yeah, I kind of agree. Like, Until Dawn, does it really need the remake treatment or whatever? Couldn't they just do like a PS5 port? I don't know. I guess. But the one I like to see the positive side of things, and Until Dawn getting a PS5 remake, they could add in haptic feedback stuff, adaptive trigger stuff in there. They could use the microphone on the controller instead of you holding the controller nice and still. You could try and be as quiet as you can in the room, which could also lead to some aggravations if someone's like son or brother or whatever came in and started screaming when in those sections. Like, I think that would be kind of interesting to see them do, right? I talked about the movie adaptation that they're planning to do last week, so if you want to hear about that, check out that episode. But as of right now, it's a strong rumor that Until Dawn is getting a PS5 and PC version, possibly a remake. Speaking of movies, the Mortal Kombat 2 movie has officially wrapped filming. Back in 2022, it was announced that the Mortal Kombat reboot movie was getting a sequel, and now the latest update has been that the filming for the movie has wrapped. So that means that the movie is probably either going to come out late this year or early next year, most likely early next year. We know a couple things about the movie. One thing that we know is they're bringing back some characters like Johnny Cage, Shao Kahn, Princess Katana, and Quan Chi. So we'll see what they do. Johnny Cage is going to be played by Carl Urban. Shao Kahn is going to be played by Martin Ford. Princess Katana is going to be played by Adeline Rudolph. And Quan Chi is going to be played by Damian Harriman. So hopefully it's better than that reboot movie. Because as much as I baseline enjoyed the Mortal Kombat movie, I had a lot of issues with it, especially in terms of the Mortal Kombat nature of it, right? They're yeah. I'll leave it at that. And hopefully this just does better. Honestly, hopefully it just is better in general. So, yeah. Also, Mortal Kombat reboot movie was one of the first times that we saw Nitara before her redo in Mortal Kombat 1. So that's interesting. Yeah. So that's officially wrapped. RoboCop Rogue City, the New Game Plus patch, is officially available now. There's a few extra things that was added on to this edition that I didn't talk about last time. So the New Game Plus is, of course, a big plus for this mode, allowing you to go back through the game with your upgrades and, of course, max out your RoboCop character. It also added a new difficulty called There Will Be Trouble. It added a new unlockable Auto 9 skin, which will only be available once you are playing New Game Plus. It added more chips and boards for the Auto 9 as well. It fixed the shooting mode not properly resetting when exiting interiors. It fixed RoboCop's right hand disappearing when grabbing a human enemy. And it also fixed the stolen vehicle investigation being skipped if Ben immediately opens the locker. So there you go. Some extra things fixed and added in there that we didn't know about. That's pretty cool stuff. So now's the time to play RoboCop, if there ever was a time. The game's great. Not one of my favorites of the year, but still a very good game, very true to the source material, and adding the New Game Plus mode will help because a lot of people wanted to use that super weapon, the Auto 9. You can upgrade it to be a beast, and they wanted to use it more, but unfortunately you could only start a new game at that point. So there you go. Halo Infinite is not doing seasonal content anymore. It'll just be that'll be replaced by content updates in the future. So the season stuff is going away. Season 5 was the final season. There will not be a season 6. And they also put together a fun little montage of all the content drops on their YouTube channel, just called Halo. So on the game's subreddit, the 343 representative said, "Seasons are coming to an end in Halo Infinite as they shift to a different approach. There will not be a Season 6. This doesn't mean content is finished for Halo Infinite. January 30th update is simply known as CU29, as in Content Update 29. On Twitter, Halo put out a tweet that said double kill, triple kill, overkill in celebration of the community and to mark the end of Season 5, Reckoning. Here's our community montage showing you some of the greatest moments from Halo Infinite. If you're still playing Halo Infinite and you've been enjoying the seasons, just know that is ending, and they are replacing that with content updates, which are probably going to be drip-fed about the same amount of time as seasons." Also in Xbox news, they have a new Indie Selects collection, which is separate to the Game Pass lineup. The Indie Select Selection is a new curation program that aims to showcase some of the best indie games Xbox and Microsoft has to offer. I think these are just games playable on Xbox, not specifically from Xbox, but it's worded a bit weird. Every Wednesday, a new collection of titles will be showcased on Xbox's new Indie Games Store tab. The first lineup for this is going to be Laika, Age Through Blood, Stray, Raji, and Lost Records. In a statement, they said, "We know there are a lot of games out there right now, and it can be difficult to find unique titles to find an audience in a crowded market space. With a dedicated, permanent, curated collection in the Xbox Store, we'll be able to bring more attention to games that we feel are particularly special. Everything from current favorites to older gems to games from new creators from around the world. The first collection is going to be available on the 24th of January, which has already passed by. And a new collection will go live each week starting next Wednesday. So, yeah, kind of a cool little thing that they're doing here. I guess you can try out the games in this collection and decide to buy them later on if you want to. But yeah, still a pretty cool idea, and hopefully it'll shed some light on some of the more unknown studios out there. All right, so Nintendo is officially closing the 3DS and Wii U online servers on April 8th, 2024, as you may or may not already know. The service has technically been offline for a little while now, but it's just done emergency maintenance on the September 4th. So apparently, in an official post, they were able to solve. They were not. I'm sorry. The firm has been unable to resolve the issues, and they've just thrown in the towel. So the some games online functionality has been completely discontinued at this point. One of those being Steel Diver Subwars. So there's still a lot of games that have online activity right now, but there's some games that just couldn't fix themselves, and they just decided, you know what, fuck this, we don't care. We're getting shut down anyway in about a couple months, so whatever. Originally launched in 2014, Steel Diver Subwars was a well-received entry in the franchise that a lot of people forget about. But yeah, that's officially going to be shut down soon. Well, actually, this is already shut down now, and then everything's going to be shut down soon on April 8th, 2024 for the Nintendo Online service. So make sure you get your stuff in, get your rounds in before it's completely gone. Following up with more Nintendo news, Nintendo has teamed up with Capri Sun in a new crossover that no one was expecting. Also, a new competition called Slurp to Win. If you get a pack of Capri Sun, it'll come with a QR code on the back, which can give you an entry to win one of 500 Nintendo Switch OLEDs. Each OLED will be given away with the 3 games featured on the Capri Sun packages, one of them being Pikmin 4, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and Animal Crossing New Horizons. So that's pretty cool. If you see these in stores, make sure you scan that QR code and enter in to try and win a Switch OLED with those 3 games. The competition is open now until the 31st of March. It might also be a nice little collectible to suck the Capri Suns dry and then save the packaging. I think that might be a cool little collectible. So yeah, kind of interesting. You know, didn't really see this one coming, but hey, Capri Suns are kind of the shape of a Nintendo Switch case, so the writing was on the wall. And then Nintendo is also going to broadcast the Legend of Zelda Orchestra concert for free on their YouTube channel. That is coming on February 9th, 2024. It's going to start at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm sorry, 5 a.m. Pacific, which is a pretty wild time to start. But of course, this is Japanese. You know, they're in Japan, so it's going to be around 1 p.m. in their time. So Nintendo of America's official YouTube channel will host the pre-recorded performance, which is going to likely cover tracks across the Zelda franchise, but probably focus on Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. On Twitter, they said, mark your calendars for the special Legend of Zelda Orchestra concert. Visit our official YouTube channel on February 9th to watch the full pre-recorded performance, which should be pretty fun. If you like Legend of Zelda and you love the music, probably something to look out for. It's probably something to listen to, you know? Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the final part of the show, which is what's coming soon. Okay, Skull and Bones is coming around on the 16th of February. It's been quite a ride for this game, and unfortunately, I don't think it's going to have the same charm as something like Dead Island 2. But Skull and Bones is ready for launch on multiple platforms from Ubisoft. They showed off a new YouTube video talking about the end game and the year 1 roadmap, which I find kind of odd that they're sharing information about this roadmap and the end game before the game is even out yet, and they don't even know if it's going to be like a successful thing in the a successful game yet. You know, each season is going to be delivered free of charge though, which is nice, and it's going to last for about 12 weeks. There will be dynamic changes to the world, new events, legendary rivals, and challenges for players to participate in. You'll be working towards and battling, taking down legendary pirate ships, including the Felipe La Peste, the Hubak twins, and Li Tianning, who are all in the trailer that I mentioned, which is on the Ubisoft YouTube channel. You can try the game out before the game launches, which is what I'm going to do on the 8th of February until the 11th of February. You'll be able to participate in the beta, the open beta for the game. You'll be able to play the full game, essentially, and you'll be able to carry over your progression to the official launch of the game if you so desire. The Rise of the Kingpins is the Year 1 roadmap. Season 1 is called Raging Ties. You'll be battling Philippe La Peste, along with having extra faction convoys, Kingpin Tylosaurus, which looks like kaiju, territory control mode, new takeover opportunities, and season rewards. Season 2 is called Chorus of Havoc with the Hubak twins. There will be a new Dragon Boat event, new campaign warship, a new fleet management system, the Megalodon kaiju, and of course new takeover opportunities with season rewards as well. Season 3 is called Into Dragon's Wake, which you will battle Li Tianning. This is a Halloween event with new world events, new major features, and legendary sea monsters, along with new takeover opportunities. And then Season 4 is a mystery arrival, possibly, maybe someone of Middle Eastern descent, a famous pirate from Middle Eastern descent. He's wearing like what are they called, a Sikh? This will be a part of the new Lunar New Year event. There will be new world events, new major features, new monsters, and new takeover opportunities. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, the game's coming out soon on February 16th. It's a congested month for these multiplayer kind of looting kind of games with Suicide Squad, Skull and Bones, and Helldivers coming out. And I think there's actually another one mixed in there as well. But whatever. Speaking of Helldivers, they released a new gameplay overview trailer, which did everything that I wanted and more. Not only did it really sell me on the game, but it went over all the little fine details that we were missing from the other reveal trailers. So you're going to go out on operations in order to fight against the bug-like Terraminids. And there's also mechanical automatons as well on different planets. The operations comprise of a handful of missions with a variety of objectives like destroying enemy nests and securing data. You'll also contribute to the overall galactic war effort, which kind of sounds like the Mass Effect 3 galactic map, which is an evolving community-wide goal to eradicate the enemy. There are the game's major orders, but you can also do some personal orders as well, additional smaller objectives that will reward you for putting in the extra effort during main missions. You can pick and choose your missions from the spaceship hub, which itself can be upgraded as you do missions, which will enable you to expand and upgrade your arsenal. You'll also be able to earn medals to gain currency and buy new armor, weapons, and etc. They also tease that it'll be keeping an eye on how everyone's playing the game by actually having the developers playing the game themselves while people are playing, which is actually a pretty cool idea. So they're going to have the developers playing the game alongside you, listening to community feedback as you play, and also in the forums as well, which is a really nice thing. It is a really nice thing. So yeah, the game is looking fantastic. Check out the PlayStation YouTube channel to find the Helldivers 2, A United Stand Galactic War trailer, which goes over a lot of different stuff that we had questions on before, but now we finally have them realized. So very cool, very fun. Love that. In kind of the same vein of things, Earth Defense Force 6 is coming in March of 2024. This will be coming to both PS5, PS4, I believe Xbox, and PC as well. I don't believe there is a Switch version that's going to be available. So yeah, this will be available on the 14th of March. It's just a co-op shooter, which has a lot of giant bugs in it. The games have kind of been low quality since I've been playing them. I think Greedy Wallace and I played like the third or fourth game, and they just never really were high quality, but at least they were fun, right? This one doesn't look that interesting to me. It looks like too much of a departure from what I know and love from the series. Like there's dragons and giant beasts and stuff, and I just want to fight fucking giant ants, dude. Like, what do you, come on. Anyway, that'll be out soon in March. Pacific Drive also put out a cool gameplay summary on their YouTube channel called Ironwood Studios. This was a great summary as well. It really went over all the minute, all the small details of the game, including charting your course or the zone that you're going to be driving through, upgrading and repairing your wagon, your station wagon, various things as well, like crafting and whatnot. I really feel like this is going to be such a really fun and complex game. They even talked about how the station wagon can start to get some of those like murmurs and stuff like that that can affect how the car drives, and as those pile up, you need to fix them or let them go if you want to, I guess. But yeah, they did a great job of describing everything. Definitely check out this video if you're interested in the game. That's coming on this 22nd of February for about $30. There is a physical version coming in August if you want to wait for that, with the deluxe edition as well coming around, which includes in-game cosmetics for your car, your station wagon, 3 art cards, a traveler's journal, and a reversible cover. So if you want to check that out, but yeah, that'll be coming out in spring, I believe, around I guess April. I guess maybe it's April. I thought I saw it on Best Buy for August, but I think it's April of 2024. So if you want to get the deluxe edition, which is the physical version of the game, it's the same price, $30. So if you want to wait, I don't think it's a problem waiting if you want to wait for that. So there you go. Stilt is a new PSVR 2 game coming out in March of 2024. The game essentially has you platforming around in first person, and your arms are just giant springs. So you kind of put them below you to jump up, and you kind of get momentum as you go around. It's pretty much a 3D collectathon, as you might expect, with some tricky platforming elements. So, of course, there's going to be new abilities and collectibles to find all over the place. There's also a multiplayer mode as well. There's going to be a PvP mode, which kind of sounds like ARMS. But, yeah, there's power-ups and stuff like that. So, yeah, it should be kind of interesting. This is coming to PSVR 2 in March, like I said. A game called Balatro? Yeah, Balatro. This is a roguelike post-poker game coming in February, the 20th of February. Essentially, it's almost like a deck builder, almost. It's being developed by a studio named Local Thunk. The game is about playing poker and trying to beat the other players by betting the minimum amount of chips and also by cheating, essentially. Kind of like Card Shark, almost. So there's layers to complicate matters in the game, like collecting special Joker cards that can enhance your current run. Tarot cards will be lumped in as well. Upgrading basic cards in the deck, giving them effects. Combining poker hands with souped-up cards, multipliers, and other crazy effects as well to create powerful decks to try and win a game of poker. It sounds kind of crazy. I don't think it's going to have the same charm as Card Shark, but it definitely... I think this is going to be a bit of an underground hit, honestly. I don't know if I'm going to pick it up myself because I don't even know how to play poker. The one time I played poker in a video game was in God Hand, and I accidentally won. I don't know how I won, but I accidentally won. So, yeah. But it sounds kind of interesting. If you want to check out the trailer for it, it's on PlayStack's YouTube channel, Balatro. Five Nights at Freddy's has been confirmed to be getting a pixel art adventure game. The creator... Scott Cawthorn said that the leak of the trailer was real, and this is the second time something's been leaked recently that has completely kind of taken the life out of like an announcement. So yeah, essentially this is going to be like a 2D pixel art game where you walk around Freddy Fazbear's trying not to be captured by Golden Freddy, I think it is. No, it's a rabbit. Whatever the rabbit one is. But yeah, so... platforms and release date remain unseen, but Scott Cawthorn did say that the game is coming, and the trailer that was leaked was real. It's based on the books called Into the Pit, which is a collection of novels written by Cawthorn himself, set in the FNAF universe. So if you want to check that out, there is an official... I guess it's not really official, but there's a trailer on a YouTube channel called Spring Facts. So there you go. Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League revealed their roadmap for the first season of content, and oh boy, is it a doozy. So the first season of free seasonal content, there's going to be a new playable environment inspired by the Joker, who is going to be a playable character in the game. This is not the Arkham version, the Mark Hamill version. No, this is the Elsewhere version of the character. Whoa, God forbid in the Arkham universe we don't have fucking Joker in an Arkham universe game. Fuck me, right? There's going to be a new boss fight with enemy variants. There's going to be some new DC villain-themed weapons and gear, along with new Riddler content, side activities, and 2 new episodes, which may be like side missions or something like that. One looks like it's based around Scarecrow, and the other around Two-Face. Along with that, the future of of free content drops between Season 2 and 4. There's going to be 3 new characters, 3 new environments, more activities, more updates, more themed gear, and more weapons to go along with that. So if you are interested, I would definitely check out the video on the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League YouTube channel going over all the seasonal content. Once again, it's kind of crazy that they're focusing on this Season 1 of content before the game's even out, before people have even gotten around to playing the full build. And yeah, I am a little bit pissed that they're adding Joker into this game. Like, I thought that this was going to be the one fucking DC game where we don't get the Joker. It's kind of played out at this point. And the history of the Arkham series has such a strong Joker in it. I don't know why we're putting this, like, I don't know, very hot Joker. I mean, that's what I'm saying. The Joker is fucking hot in this game, right? Why are they making the Joker look like this? Like, he looks like a fuckboy, essentially. I mean, I'd rather have this version of the Joker over, I don't know, freaking the Suicide movie Joker. But yeah, it's just so weird. It's so weird that they're adding the Joker in it for the first season too. Like, don't even give the game a chance to really swim. Like, we got to add the Joker in right now. It's just so weird. And also, it being Elsewhere Joker, they gotta pull in they gotta pull strings to get him into the game. Like, maybe if you gotta pull so many strings to get him into the game, maybe just put someone else in there. I don't think Scarecrow dies at the end of Arkham Knight. You could put him in there. You could have Ra's al Ghul come back. He's technically. You never see his dead. They take his dead body away. He's probably revived in the Lazarus Pit. That would maybe be a cool little side content there. No, you get fucking Joker. Again, I originally didn't like Arkham Knight because they had the Joker in there so predominantly, but on my replay of it, I was fine with it because it made sense for the story. This is just not. This isn't it, bro. Maybe it'll be. Maybe I'll eat my words, and when I finally eventually get this game, I will be like, wow, actually, this was all worth it. Don't hold your breath. Swinging back around the Palworld, they also showed off their roadmap for their early access. They're going to be addressing critical issues, improvements to implement as soon as possible. They have some improvements to implement as soon as possible, including key configuration improvements and improvements to base PAL AI and pathing. They also have some planned updates for the future, like PvP, raid bosses, and in terms of endgame content, PAL Arena for PvP, Steam and Xbox crossplay, various Xbox feature improvements, server transfers and migrations, improvements on building systems, and new islands, PAL bosses, and technologies. So it seems like they got a nice roadmap lined up for this game, and we'll see how that all works out. Super Kiwi 64 has gotten a free update on Switch and Steam and all that stuff. They've added a couple things that are kind of neat, I would say. So they're adding in time trials, cutscenes, and some other things as well. This is a free update, of course, for the game. Which, if you've already played it, you kind of know what it is. It's a third-person platformer in the same vein as like an N64 game. Has the same art style, has some creepy stuff in there, but there really wasn't a story to tie it all together. And now they have cutscenes, they have time trials, and they have save files. You can have multiple saves. You can also choose between which version of the game to play, if you want to play the original version or the Doomsday version. There you go. You can check that out if you want to. That's available now for free. It launched on January 26. Mario vs. Donkey Kong, which is coming around on the 16th of February. Got some new information about that, about it. Albeit a little bit less information that I would have liked, but essentially on Twitter, Nintendo of America, and they also released a video, they said that there's going to be some new, unique puzzles to solve in this version of the game. You can use flower fans to transport objects, which is one of the new additions to the game. Which is pretty cool, I guess, for the game. Mario versus Donkey Kong. I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm like super excited for this game, but I am very interested in playing this. It definitely looks interesting. I know it's just it's pretty much a remake of a DS game, but it definitely looks interesting for a puzzle game. It also harkens back to a time when Mario and Donkey Kong were rivals, and they attacked each other, and Donkey Kong stole stuff from Mario, and Mario beat his ass to get it back. So if you want to check out that video, it is on Nintendo of America's Twitter and YouTube channel. F-Zero 99 has another update, this time adding some much requested things like private lobbies. Yes, you can now do a private lobby with your friends with a 4-digit passcode, which will allow players to access the race with the passcode. This will be great for people who stream the game or want to stream the game, and they don't want to have the crazy amount of random people in their servers. Also be able to play with them as well. There'll also be some secret tracks, which will occasionally appear in the game, and some other changes have been made to increase the maximum level and skill rating. So the max level is now 399 instead of 99, and the maximum skill ranking has increased to skill level 50. So there you go. Some pretty cool stuff there. They've also made some general improvements to the game as well in this update. Good stuff. Nice to see that they're still doing stuff with it, even though they said that they weren't adding any more tracks. Apparently they lied. And finally for today, new pastel pink Switch Joy-Cons are set to launch alongside Princess Peach Showtime. These new controllers are going to be released on the 22nd of March. Princess Peach Showtime is coming around the 22nd of March as well. So you can buy both Princess Peach Showtime and the pastel pink controllers, which are going to cost about $80. I believe there will be a set that includes the Joy-Con controllers in a bundle. I don't know what the price of that would be. Maybe like $130. You can buy it at select retailers, but you can also buy it on the My Nintendo store as well for a limited time. So yeah, if you want to check that out, on the 22nd of March, pastel pink Joy-Cons for Princess Peach. And alongside that, they also released a new trailer for Princess Peach Showtime, showing off more of her configurations. They showed off Ninja Peach and Cowgirl Peach, which looks relatively fun. I think that this game is going to be very interesting to finally get your hands on. It looks like there's a lot of different gameplay styles in here, which is not concerning. I think that's going to really give the game a lot of charm. So yeah, we'll see what happens with this. I think it looks pretty good so far. If you want to check out the video, it is on Nintendo's YouTube channel. And in a post by Nintendo, they said players will battle enemies from the footlights to the rafters, taking on the role of a sword fighter, a detective, a kung fu master, a pastrier, pretty much a pastry chef, and more. But this is no ordinary adventure. It's going to take even more than panache from Peach to bring this play to its triumphant final bow. As Ninja Peach, she will call upon her sneaking abilities as she uses the shadows, shrubbery, and makeshift bamboo snorkels to surprise and thwart her enemies. On levels where you need a little more brash, Cowgirl Peach yeehaws into action. Her horseback riding expertise is matched only by her defense with a lasso, and you'll need both of these to make sure Peach rides off into the sunset, or at least until the next scene. So yeah, I think the game is looking really good. I think that the early concerns about it have been pretty much washed away at this point. So yeah, definitely check out the trailer if you're interested in that. And Princess Peach Showtime comes out on the 26th of March. I'm sorry, the 22nd of March. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the final part of the show. And that is, of course, Guess That Song. If you know the song name and the game that it came from, let me know either in the comments below, and I'll give you a heart and a comment saying congratulations if you got it right, or swing over to the Discord and let me know if you know the name of the song and the game that came from as well, and I'll give you a super reaction. Let's hear what today's song is right now. Okay, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. Really do appreciate that. If you want to check out anything else I do, it's all at Yemmy the Ferret, whether it be on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, etc. Right now, we are playing through a couple games, Neo, Power Wash Simulator, and Captain Toad Treasure Tracker on the Switch. We should be getting done with Captain Toad this next week. We'll be playing more Neo this next week as well. And I usually stream on Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Thursdays, every other Thursday, is the Ferret Cafe podcast starting around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to check that out, it's a live podcast that does get uploaded as a VOD on the following Thursday. So if you want to check that out, that'll be available next Thursday. Or if you want to tune in, the next episode will be in 2 weeks. I also do another podcast called Film Freaks with a Z, where I talk about movies. Our latest episode is about Her from 2013. The next episode is going to be about Fight Club, which I've never seen before, so it'll be an interesting conversation, huh? And that's about it. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Ferret 64. Very much appreciate you. I am Yemmy the Ferret, and I am out of here. I'll talk at you next week. Bye-bye. The Ferret 64 podcast is owned and edited by Yemmy the Ferret. The song Nightshade, used in the intro and outro, is owned by Adhesive Wombat. Small sound clips during the podcast were made by Yemmy the Ferret. News sources include NintendoLife.com, PushSquare.com, and PureXbox.com. All opinions video game related are my own. Thank you for listening.